Oh boy, cue up the shit talking and everything else. It's a rivalry week. It's an old NFC Central and now NFC North duel. It's the Detroit Lions. It's the Chicago Bears. Oh my! Anyways, here I am to talk about this upcoming Sunday matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Bears. The Bears. Yes, it's old NFC Central, now NFC North stuff. So what could we expect from this game on Sunday? You know, there's a chance that this game could be a lot of fun. There's a chance that this game could be high scoring. There's a chance that there's not going to be a lot of defense here. There's a chance. We'll see what happens, but there is certainly a chance. Looking at the teams coming into this game, starting off with the Detroit Lions. They come in probably, I would imagine, just a little bit disappointed with their 2-6 record. You know, maybe they thought they would be a little bit ahead of where they are right now. But slightly positive news for them is they did beat the Packers last week 15-9, which made the Packers 3-6 for the season. Can you imagine? They've got the same record as the Bears. But, you know, if you're looking for moral victories as a Lions, well, there's one right there. You made the Packers look really bad. And maybe some more positives are your offense is in the upper half of the league statistically, although I will say, my opinion, and I don't even know if it's just an opinion, it's a somewhat reality, that's a bit misleading due to some of the garbage time numbers that they've put up. But it is what it is, even at certain stretches. This team has shown that they can move the ball offensively. Jared Goff is on pace for over 4,000 yards passing, believe it or not. Jamal Williams is their leading rusher, and he's on pace for over 1,000 yards rushing. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is the top weapon in that passing game, who, you know, you could certainly look at him come Sunday and say, yeah, the Bears are going to take a look at him and say, nah, we don't need to bother covering him. Let's let him go nuts. You know, it's the Justin Jefferson coverage strategy, the Tyreek Hill coverage strategy that's worked so well for the Alan Williams, Matt Eberflus defense this year. But it's even more important for Amon-Ra St. Brown to have a big game if he plays because T.J. Hockenson's not there since he was traded to the divisional rival Minnesota Vikings. However, for the Lions, it's kind of a similar story to last year in that their defense is horrendous. Really, really horrendous. As in 32nd in the league in yards allowed, 32nd in the league in points allowed, 31st in sacks. So you know this much. Like a gold digger when an old man got a big payout. They ain't putting up no resistance. They just letting it flow right through them. Defensively. Now offensively, they can cause you some problems. Meanwhile, for the Bears, they come in at 3-6, which really honestly isn't far off of what should have been expected from them at this point in the season. Thinking they were going to be something like 0-9 or 1-8 was probably, you know, delusional, as if you thought maybe they would have a winning record at this point. Let's not get too psycho here. But they certainly lost a tough one. It was a fun game, but it was a tough loss at the end of the day to the Miami Dolphins last week, 35-32. You could certainly point to the Bears' offense has gotten better in the last 3 games, and that is unquestionably true. In the last 3 games, their offense has scored 33, 29, 32 points respectively. So this is an offense that's starting to put up some numbers. And the big spark offensively over the past few weeks has come from Gutless Getsy apparently saying,
put him up. I'm the offensive coordinator. As much as I like to run, I've got a quarterback who can also run. That means double the runs, and I'm here for it. I got courage.
I mean, there's no question that there has been a fundamental shift in the approach of the offensive play calling here the past few weeks. And the play calling is more geared, more designed to tailor itself to Justin Fields and what he can do and less of what he can't do. If you're expecting Justin Fields right now at this stage of his career to stand in the pocket and pick you apart, that ain't happening. And for an offensive coordinator to think that could happen, that shows that they're out of touch. They don't have a clue what's going on. But saying that Justin Fields can hurt you with his arm and his athleticism and his arm strength, yeah, more of that, please. And you've seen, you know, Justin Fields' last 3 games, rushing yards respectively, 82 against the Patriots, 60 against the Cowboys, and then an NFL regular season rushing record for a quarterback, 178 against the Dolphins last week, to the point where you got Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel telling him to stop it. But let's be clear here. All this running of the football by Justin Fields is great in theory, but it is still Bears football, just in a different way. It's a modern spin on Bears football. You got your quarterback last week running for 178 yards and throwing for 123. If that ain't Bears football, I don't know what the hell is. Look at their passing yardage totals as an offense the past 3 weeks. 179 yards, 151 yards, 123 yards. All the running around is great and everything, but at some point in time as an offense, you got to be able to throw the ball more effectively, more consistently. Stop it. 200 yards passing should not be a magical milestone to pass for an NFL quarterback and a passing offense in the NFL in 2022. This team is first in the league in rushing yards per game offensively because of course they are, because that once again is what, folks? Bears football! And they are in the rear butt naked last in passing yards per game because of course, once again, it's what, folks? It's not the same if you say it and I don't, is it? Bears football! Like, there's got to be a little bit of unhinged to you to say that. Well, I mean, you're a Bears fan, of course you're kind of unhinged. You're kind of like questionable mentally. Like, oh, of course you are. So say it with me, folks. You gotta feel it. You gotta scream it out too. Bears football! See, that feels good. And this Bears is not very good. I don't know how else to say it. They're 18th in yards allowed, 21st in points
allowed, 30th against the run, 29th in sacks. You know, and it really doesn't make much of a difference if they would have had Robert Quinn or Roquan Smith. Like, you look at last week's defensive performance, you could say, well, the defense only gave up 28 points because one of those touchdowns given up to the Dolphins was on special teams. So what the hell do you mean that you needed Roquan Smith? No. He brought no real value to the table. You gave up, frickin' 42 points defensively against the Cowboys the week before with him. You only gave up 28 without him to the Dolphins, who are arguably explosive offense. So, no. The Bears fans try to say, look at Roquan playing for the Ravens. So what? It doesn't matter. Move on. Move on. I'm hoping this game will be exciting. Like the past couple of weeks, it's been fun to watch the Bears. And it's a really unfamiliar feeling when you're talking about, once again, what, folks? Bears football! Because this Bears offense can actually move the ball. They can actually score points. You're watching a dynamic young quarterback looking like he might be trying to come into his own and establish himself as the long-term answer at the position for the franchise. Like, it's a whole different vibe and feeling. Meanwhile, the Lions are trotting out Jared Goff. Now, it would be such a Detroit thing, wouldn't it, to win just enough games where they get themselves out of position where they can't draft a quarterback high in the 2023 NFL draft? That would be just like them, wouldn't it? But I don't know, I'm kind of torn here because on the one hand, you're like, hey, the Bears win. They go to 4-6. Like, who gives a shit about the record anyways? But, it probably means Justin Fields played well again, and that really means something. But meanwhile, if you beat the Lions, doesn't that help put them in a position where they could get a quarterback that could change the trajectory of their franchise? Fuck it. Deal with the outcomes and the impacts of that later. I expect this to be a fun one. Could be sloppy at times, too, because these are two not very good teams, ultimately. But I'll take the Bears to win 30-24. And if they lose this one, they're probably going to deserve whatever rant, storm, or criticism I have for them on Sunday afternoon because they should not lose to this Lions team at home. I'm just saying.